I'm going to let you finish, but Kanye West is one of the most influential artists of all time. That's right, Kanye West, the guy who's most famous for marrying a Kardashian and interrupting Taylor Swift at the 2009 VMAs. Now, I've listened to all of Kanye's albums several times to come to this conclusion, and I've also listened to a lot of the music that he's produced. He's one of the most polarizing figures in pop culture today, and almost everyone knows who he is. Most of them think he's, to quote Barack Obama, a jackass. Today I'll be talking about Kanye's discography, as well as artists who have lauded him as one of the greatest, and also many of the popular artists today who he has already influenced. Now, Kanye's first album came out in 2004. However, before that, he had been producing since 1999, most famously on Jay-Z's 2003 album, The Blueprint. Now, in 2004, Kanye West came out with his first LP, The College Dropout. This album is very different from much of the hip-hop that had come out around this time. Before The College Dropout, most of the hip-hop on the radio was gangster rap. Jay-Z ruled, Dr. Dre, Eminem, and the like. Now, The College Dropout broke from that mold completely. He didn't sample high bass or very hard-hitting beats. He used soul music samples from the 1970s and 60s and put it over hi-hat, very soft sort of instrumentation in the percussion. Now, this album, to me, is 1 point below perfect. I give it a 9.9. The only reason I take 0.1 points off is it hasn't aged particularly well because of all the skits that they have, sometimes probably every 3 or 4 songs. Now, his second album is Late Registration. This is where he got a lot of his features. He's featuring Adam Levine and Brandy and many other famous artists of the early 2000s. Late Registration is very different from The College Dropout, at the same time being almost the same. Late Registration used very Baroque style instrumentation. It used a lot of pianos and not very much soul sampling, but it used pianos as Baroque instrumentation, and probably one of his most famous samples of all time is from the song Diamonds from Sierra Leone, where he sampled the James Bond song Diamonds Are Forever. Now, in 2007, he came out with his album Graduation. Now, this is what I like to call Stadium Kanye. This is my least favorite of his albums. I give it probably an 8.9. It's the only album I rate below 9. Late Registration, I give a 9.5. Now, this is called Stadium Kanye because this is where he was at his most famous. He had all of his hit singles on the radio, such as Stronger, which is his most famous song. I believe that went platinum 10 times over. Now, he was famous in this era for what he wore, which was the pink polo, and he would wear a backpack on stage. This is because he wanted to show sort of a scholarly image, as his first 3 albums all had to deal with schooling, College Dropout, Late Registration, and Graduation. Now, in 2007, after Graduation came out, Kanye's mother, Donda, died from complications during plastic surgery, and this is shown through his music. His 2008 album, 808s and Heartbreak, is markedly different from his previous 3. 808s and Heartbreak used auto-tune and very somber sounds to layer over everything, and he would sing about cold nights and just depression and a lot of very sad, depressing stuff. Now, when this album came out, it wasn't very well received. People thought the auto-tune was overdone. However, it has proven to be his most influential album. Without 808s and Heartbreak, there would probably be no Drake, no Weeknd, no McConan. So it really opened the door for a lot of singing rappers, if you will. Now, in 2010, he came out with what is my personal favorite album of all time. It's one of the perfect albums, My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. Now, this is considered his magnum opus. It features artists ranging from Nicki Minaj to Elton John to Beyonce and Rihanna and Kid Cudi and Rick Ross and Justin Vernon from Bon Iver and Jay-Z, and the list goes on and on. Now, this is his greatest album because it's just a beautiful album. It almost tells a story of a young man who's seen a lot of pain and turmoil and is now trying to turn his life around. And it's just a beautiful album. Now, while he was working on this album, he was also working on a dual project with Jay-Z called Watch the Throne. Now, this is almost, I like to call this a jock album because it was very much played during warm-ups for basketball games, warm-ups for football games, at stadiums, and whatnot. It's a good album, but I don't consider it one of his solo albums, so I give it probably an 8.5. Now, his most recent album is Yeezus. Definitely his most polarizing album. It's very angry and very hard-hitting and almost very screamy at some points. Now, Kanye, with this album, he said, okay, you love me for my beautiful dark twisted fantasy. Well, now I want to make you hate me with Yeezus. He almost dares you to like him. That might not sound good, but it truly is an amazing album. It's very hard-hitting, almost angry. And Lou Reed, one of the artists who has said that Kanye is a genius, he did state that he almost dares you to not like it. Lou Reed also said that he's doing nothing that any artist has ever done before. Lou Reed is obviously the singer of Velvet Underground. Now, several other musicians have called Kanye a genius. Elton John has stated that he's a stone-cold genius. And Trent Reznor has also stated that he's daring people to dislike him, but he's doing such different things, and he's so intelligent. He's making great music. And finally, Paul McCartney, member of probably the greatest band of all time, the Beatles, has said that Kanye and Jay-Z's Watch the Throne tour is the greatest concert he's ever been to. He also said that working with Kanye was like working with John Lennon. Now, Kanye has also influenced many artists who are on the radio today. Justin Vernon of Bon Iver, who was on Kanye's My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, has stated that Kanye has influenced his work greatly, as well as Drake. Drake has said that Kanye has been one of the biggest influences on him. Chance the Rapper has stated that The College Dropout is what made him want to drop out of school and become a rapper. And finally, The Weeknd has said that, has given praise to Kanye through Twitter and other social media. Now, with all this, Kanye West is the greatest musician of our generation. Now, he has won 27 Grammys, as well as many other accolades, praise and influence from almost everyone, universal. Now, I encourage everyone to go out and listen to Kanye, and I would like to, if I had to suggest somewhere to start, I would definitely say listen to My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy.